Hi there. Welcome to Google SERP Features, Why Technical Content Creators Should Be Concerned. If you're familiar with the content that I put out, or the content that RankRanger puts out in general, this is a little bit different of a different spin on what we usually do. This is geared more towards people who are not necessarily familiar with SEO and are creating technical content documentation, knowledge bases, help centers, all that kind of stuff, and want to understand why they should be concerned about search, and in particular SERP features. And if you don't know what a SERP feature is, I'll even explain that as we go along. And here's what they are and why you should be concerned if you're creating technical content. Okay, so about me. My name is Morty Oberstein. I am the marketing manager for RankRanger. RankRanger is an all-in-one SEO suite, SEO tool. We track rank, we track SERP features, we track your fluctuations, we track your keyword fluctuations. You can do keyword research. You can even integrate Google Search Console Analytics, all of your digital marketing data into one platform. That's enough about me, and that's what we do. Let's get into this. Okay, who needs search? You're a content creator, you're creating technical content. It can be anything from a study to documentation. And why do you need search? Why do you care about search? Well, I'll give you a couple of examples, okay? One is if you're creating actual manuals, if you're writing manuals, you know, like the piece of paper you get when you open a box, here's where mine go. No joke, I do not read manuals. I cannot stand them. My wife is the one who will build things that I have no patience for. I literally just throw them out. I try to figure it out on my own because it's the kind of person that I am. And if I have a problem and I can't figure it out, I don't feel scared because I'll just go online and I'll find a way to figure it out. Either I'll go to a video that'll show me how to do X, Y, and Z. I might pull up the actual manual, maybe through a PDF on a website, or I can see other people how they've done it on any given website. There's plenty of content available to me from almost any product out there on the web. I don't really need the actual manual, sorry to say. Now, you might be saying, well, I already create web documentation, so it's already up there. I'm cool. That's true. That is good, and I'm glad you are doing that, and you should be doing that. But the question is, the content that you create that is on the web, is it findable? Yes, it's just because you have content, help content on your website, doesn't mean it's findable in search, and particularly inside of SERP features, which I'll get to in just a bit. So let me just put some meat onto this, some teeth to this. Okay, so you should know that 70% of people do not want to interact with your company. Even if you have web content online and you have a help center online, you have that little box that pops up and says, hey, you want to chat? Most people, all they want to do is be left alone. They don't want to talk to you. They don't want to talk to a chat box. They don't want to talk to a bot. They don't want to have to call you. They just want to read documentation and be on their way. Okay, that 30%, by the way, that's my father-in-law who loves to call up and talk to a customer rep, but 70% of people just want to see what they want to see, be in, be out, and don't really want to interact with you, sorry to say. Now, for young people, millennials like me, I'm technically a millennial, I'm right on the border there, we're the worst, because we don't even go to your website. I don't want to go to your website. It actually makes a lot of good sense. I'm just going to go to Google search. In other words, yes, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to interact with a bot online. I just want to read the answer to my question and be done, right? But I'm not going to go to your website to do that. Why would I do that? Why would I type in your website, find the search box, type in whatever I want to find, and then read through all your documentation? I'll just go to Google and type in, hey, how do I change this, and how do I fix that, and how do I do this with whatever product that I am working with? Okay, so 90%, or just under 90% of young people, pardon me, they will go to Google and not to your website. Now, you might say, okay, great, so some millennials will come to my website through search, some won't, whatever. It's actually a really big deal because that increase, that boost of having your documentation findable in search as part of the Google universe, or the Google universe that people interact with, meaning on page 1 and in SERP features, which I will get to what those are if you don't know in a few moments, that can lead to a 45% increase in your traffic. That's huge, okay? And I'm not talking, that's just help knowledge, that's just documentation, knowledge-based content can result in an increase up to 45% in your site's traffic. So your site cares about this, your site should care about it, and as a result, you should care about this. Now, you might be saying, well, I work for a big brand, okay? I don't need search. People come to my site. I am the brand for this product. No one else even makes this kind of thing. So people are going to have to come to my site, okay? And you know, I'm comfortable with that. Well, maybe you should be, or maybe you shouldn't be. Let's take a look at ESPN. ESPN, the juggernaut in sports. So you're right, they get 76% of their traffic comes through direct traffic, meaning someone goes to the browser, types in ESPN.com, and heads over to the ESPN website, and only 14 through search. See, I don't need search, I don't need Google. That's true, but are you ESPN? I don't mean are you a brand as big as ESPN even. I mean, are you ESPN? Is that your profile? And I chose ESPN on purpose because I'm a big sports fan. And if I want a quick score, by the way, I don't go to ESPN, I just go to the Google SERP. And I'll show you that in a few minutes as well. But ESPN is sort of like the Wikipedia for all things sports. If I want to go see what's going on, get a sense of what's doing in any of the given sports, and then maybe check some scores and standings, I'll just head over to ESPN.com directly because my association to ESPN is so strong. And when I think sports knowledge, sports content, my immediate association is ESPN. Is your user's immediate association to you, your website? Probably not. And I'll show you. Okay, here's Amazon. Amazon, the juggernaut in e-commerce, right, only has, and I say only, you'll see why, 50% of their traffic is through direct traffic, meaning someone types in Amazon.com and hits enter, and 30% is search. And you might say 30%, that's not so much. Really? It's not so much that Google's taken on an entire strategy to combat Amazon's presence on the Google results page. In other words, Google has their own shopping partners, their own shopping program. So they kind of don't want you to head over to Amazon. Now, they won't manipulate the search results in any way because that's just wrong. Google will not do that. What Google will do, and I'll show you an example shortly, is they'll put all other sorts of elements on the page so that you don't click on the Amazon result and head over to one of their shopping partners. So Google is spending a countless amount of time, countless amount of dollars on making sure that 30% of Amazon search results, search traffic doesn't actually happen. So if you think 30% is not a lot, it can be, depending on your brand, it could be enormous. Okay, but your brand probably looks more something maybe like this. Here's HP.com. Okay, 30% is direct traffic and 63% is search. I know those numbers don't add up to 100%, by the way, because there are other channels for traffic, a social referral, all these sort of other avenues. I'm just looking at direct and search, okay? 63%, and that's massive. Now, here's Samsung.com, and I would say your site probably looks like this, if not, quote-unquote, worse from the direct traffic perspective. Only 23% of Samsung, the leader in everything. I mean, phones, TVs, but the monitor I'm looking at right now is Samsung, okay? Only 23% of that is direct traffic, and 66% of its traffic comes from search. Okay, so search is massive. You need to care about it. There's no way around it. Okay, but don't be afraid because it's an opportunity for you. Search is an opportunity. Google loves help documentation. It is amazing, okay? So I'll give you an example, a personal example. I have written content about the local pack. Okay, the local pack, if you don't know, is a SERP feature. And you've seen it before. If you type in, I don't know, Pizza New York City, and you get 3 listings of the top 3 pizza restaurants near you in New York City that Google's telling you, hey, you should check these out. Okay, that's a local pack, and underneath it all a bunch of results. So I have written a lot of content about local packs, articles, blogs, studies, whatever it is, okay? When I type in local pack ranking, none of my content shows up. In fact, what does show up, number 3 on the results page, is Rank Ranger's documentation. And it competes with some heavy hitters in the industry, and it competes with big studies about local packs or local SEO, local ranking. Okay, that's documentation right there in the 3rd spot. So documentation is a search opportunity that you shouldn't be afraid of. In fact, you should embrace it because it's great for you. Like I said, 45% boost in traffic. Okay, but search can be problematic for you, and there's 3 reasons why. So let's get into this. Okay. If someone goes to your website, direct traffic, they go to your website and they open up the search box and they look for an answer to their questions. They're only looking at your content. That's the only content they're going to see. Not so on the SERP, not so on the results page because the user types in a query. Your site may be number 1, 2, or 3, but in general there are about 9 or so sites on any given results page, meaning you're competing with 8 other sites that users might head over to instead of yours. So that makes search a little bit hard sometimes, especially if you're ranking, say, 4, 5, or 6, and not 1, 2, or 3. Now, The other issue is, and this has to do with the way Google tries to show search results, is that there's so many different types of sites. Okay, Google's trying to make sure that every type of user is satisfied, that their intent that they search for is being met in the search results. So I'll give you an example. If you type in buy car insurance, you would expect to see sites where you can buy car insurance, okay? And there are those sites. They do exist there, but they also exist next to sites that may tell you which is the best policy, which is the best company, what considerations do you need to have before you buy car insurance. So there's different types of content, informative content, e-commerce content that exists on any given search results page. So you're competing not only with different sites, but sites trying to do different things, and that can be difficult. And you're also competing with Google. Just blew your mind, right? Of course. Okay, Google, you're competing with Google. What are you talking about competing? Yeah, you are competing with Google, and I will show you. Still don't believe me? Pause, reflect, and get ready. Okay, so you're competing with this fella. This fella is a local pack. It's one of these SERP features. These are all going to be SERP features I'm going to show you. For a hotel. This is a hotel local pack. If you type in hotels near Boston, you get these 4 results with a big map and big images and blah, 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 blah. And underneath it are all your regular results that you see, that has a title and a little description in the URL. Most people are not even going to notice or scroll down to those results, because even if they're not happy with the 4 results that Google's showing you in this local pack box, you can click and see there more hotels, and you can get another long list of listings that look just like this. If you're not in those listings, certainly if you're not here, no one's gonna know your hotel even exists. So you're competing with Google. You want to get into this box. You're competing with other sites as well with Google, because if you're not in this box, well, no one's gonna notice you altogether. At least if you're here, you're 1 out of 4. You're competing with this guy, because this is a mobile knowledge panel. It has tons of tabs, tons of information, and it shows up for entities. So like Statue of Liberty, George Washington, Pugs, my favorite dog, and it has organic result material. Like here, there's a website showing up, right? But it also contains tons and tons of content that Google's just giving you. You don't need to go to a website. Like if you typed in Microsoft, and you would get a knowledge panel showing you who's the CEO of Microsoft, what their stock price might be, when they were founded, where they're located, what their phone number is, and you never need to click on a website to get to it. So Google is competing with a website. In that case, or you would be competing with Google if you were trying to rank for that keyword. There's this guy. This one's a newer one. It's called the Explore panel. And what it does is it offers you some pictures about, in this case, taco popcorn, which I had no idea even existed. And you get a little bit of snippet, a piece of content, along with a URL that you can go visit the site. So if I want to know about taco popcorn, and I read a little blurb here, I may or may not click on that URL. I might be satisfied, and I'm done. And all the other sites ranking on this page, the organic sites, which I don't show you here in the screenshot, I'm not going to look at even. Here, this URL shows up. I know it exists, but I may not even click on this one. If I want to go look at other content related to taco popcorn, taco pizza, whatever it is, okay? Pizza popcorn. I'll just click that little button there, and another one of these things will show up on the page, and all the other organic results that represent your site, I will not look at. They're just irrelevant. Now, in this case, I told you I probably wouldn't click on the taco popcorn recipe from the Food Network. Your content's different. When you show up in something similar to this, which I'll show you, you will get a lot of clicks out of this. So, very important for you to consider these features, and I'll get into that in a second. Just bear with me. You're also competing with this guy. Remember I told you, if I want to find a sports score, I will not go to ESPN. I will just type in Rams score. Of course, this is before the Super Bowl, so they don't show up here. But I'm not a Rams fan anyway. But if you type in whatever team you want, you type in the score, you get this whole box full of scores. I don't need to go to a website to see the score. I can see the latest news. There's a tab for the standings. There's a tab for the players. So if I'm ESPN, I am competing with this. Right? If I want users to come to me, ESPN, to find out the Rams score, no one will, or very few people will, because they just have the score right here. What reason is there to click? You have this guy. This is a carousel. This is a list of all the people who have won the Nobel Peace Prize, not the Peace Prize, the Nobel Prize, sorry, in 2018. And if I want to see this list, I don't need to go to a website that has the full list. Google gives me the list altogether. So what happens with that website that has a list of all the winners for 2018? Well, they're competing with this SERP feature. By the way, if you click on any one of these people, you will get a knowledge panel telling me all about them. So in which case, I don't need to go to a website to learn about whoever it is who won the Nobel Prize for whatever. Google tells me all about them without having me to click on a site. Sites are competing with Google SERP features. This is one of my favorites, by the way. So there was a test, and actually for some searches, it still shows up this way permanently, it seems, where there are no organic results. There are no results. You know, the 10 blue links, the titles, the descriptions, the URLs, they do not show up here. Do you see one? What day is it today? Monday. Google tells me the answer. Obviously, might not be Monday. I searched for this a while ago. There is a button to see all the results, and I could see all the organic results, but what are the chances I'm going to do that? Because if I'm looking to see what day it is today, and I don't know, Google already told me the answer. What use is a website going to be? So you kind of get my point with this, okay? You have to understand how Google is competing with you if you are a website. If you want to show content on the web, on the Google search, SERP features, these boxes that Google has, are a major, and increasingly so, source of competition to sites because Google is offering you the content right then or there. So now let's talk about rank for a minute, because we could go two ways with this. If you're creating technical content, we can talk about making sure you rank number 1 or number 2, number 3 in the organic results, in those standard sort of listings that you're used to seeing on the Google results page. But as you have seen, there's so many SERP features. And for your queries, for your type of queries, okay, SERP features are really prevalent. So I'm going to forget about rank here for a minute. Altogether. I'm not saying it's not important. I'm not saying you shouldn't worry about where you rank 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I am saying, though, that I think SERP features for you, technical content creators, SERP features are really more important. And I'll show you, okay? Because we're going to take a look at some of the queries that you might run, or a user might run, when looking to find out a technical answer. So let's take a look over here. How to add money to PayPal. So if you'll notice, if I type in how to add money to PayPal to Google, I first get this box. Number 1, I get a box that gives me some steps, and there's a URL there that I can click on. That's called a featured snippet. Okay. Number 2 is called People Also Ask, or technically it's called the Related Questions box, and that's also a SERP feature. Okay, well, I'll get into that a little bit, what exactly that People Also Ask box is. Just know right now that it's not an organic result. It doesn't look like the thing right below it, which I highlighted in a light red for you, because it's really hard to see between the People Also Ask box and the video carousel right beneath it. Okay, so for this query, how to add money to PayPal, there are 3 SERP features that Google's showing me, and only 1 organic result. And if you notice, that 1 organic result, which by the way does go to PayPal, and by the way, the link in number 1, that feature snippet up there, that also goes to PayPal, so that's a great win for PayPal. It's really hard to see it. 1, it's much smaller. 2, it has no visual aspect to it, like the video carousel is these sort of image thumbnail within it, and the People Also Ask box is really big. Okay, so who's going to even notice that, and why would I interact with it? Let's do another one. Install Bitdefender VPN. That's the antivirus program that I use, so I just use that one. Again, same thing. You have this top box, a 0 position box. It shows above everything else, called the featured snippet, and you get steps, how to install Bitdefender's software, whatever it is. Okay. Again, beneath that is the People Also Ask box, and then eventually you do have your organic result. But again, it's only after you see these other 2 elements, and that greatly reduces the chances of a user clicking on your actual result on Google. Let's look at another one. Change webcam setting on Logitech C920, the current webcam that I'm using right now as I am talking. And again, you have a feature snippet. You have the People Also Ask box. By the way, in that feature snippet, the number 1 up there, you also have an image, which makes it a little bit more appealing, right? Number 3, you have that video carousel, and it's sandwiched between the video carousel and the related questions. Noticing a pattern here is an organic result, which again I highlighted for you because you don't really notice it, and neither will anyone searching for this. And if you're Logitech, no one will come to your site through this. By the way, let's save it for later. Okay, how to install Mobileye. And so even if you don't show up on the page with a feature snippet and a related questions box, the People Also Ask box, which you don't know what that is yet, and it's really crazy and it's really cool, I'm going to show you, so stay with me here, you still get a video carousel. Okay, also, yeah, there are 3 organic results that show up here above the fold. Great, but the video carousel is big, it's a carousel, and it's video. What are the chances that I'm not going to click on a video, especially when it's technical, and I'm not a technical person, I'm going to click on that video first. Okay, SERP features, okay? Now you might say, well, what does this have to do with me? I'm not a big brand like Bitdefender or PayPal. I'm a really technical company. All right, how to set up account in Jira. Here you go. Okay, something that you have to really be in the business to do a query like this. And again, what shows up? Feature snippet, big old feature snippet showing you how to add users, right? 1, 2, 3. Then you get the URL to the website, and then also the people also ask box, and then underneath that, organic results. Okay, so are you with me here? Are you getting me? Yes, we can focus on organic results. That's true. They do show up. But maybe 1, 2 show up above the fold. Forget about below the fold. No one's scrolling down past the fold these days. So there's 1, 2, 3 elements, 1 or 2 maybe above the fold that are SERP features, that are Google properties. And there's your one little URL there. There's no one's going to click on because those other SERP features are visual, they're big, and they offer you content right there on the results page. So we're going to talk about 3 SERP features here. And if you notice, there were generally speaking 3 SERP features that show up for technical queries. So we could talk about all the millions of SERP features that Google has, but we are not, because they're not relevant to technical content creators, which you are if you're watching this. So let's talk about featured snippets first. And so feature snippets are basically a box that answers the question, or even if it's not a question, if Google thinks the query could be a question, it's a box that shows up that offers you a snippet of content that answers it. In this case, we hear all about Fonzie and jumping the shark, which is a great term. I love using that term. But you also get a URL that goes to Wikipedia in this case. So there's opportunity for a website to capitalize on and get a lot of traffic. If I want to learn more about jumping the shark, I'll click on the Wikipedia page. Now, I may not here, but for this kind of query, I get what I want, so to speak. But again, for your queries, you'll see people are going to click on it because the full content will not show up there most of the time for the kind of technical queries that you're looking at. Now, feature snippets show up on just about 5.5% of all page 1 SERPs on desktop in the US. Since I did this PowerPoint, it went up a little bit. It's fine. Okay, just know that it shows up about 6% of all pages. You might be like, 6%? That's not a lot, and we'll talk about that also. Related questions. So here you go. First of all, these are on 33% of all page 1 SERPs, so they're far more prevalent. And what you have here, if you look at the GIF, is feature snippets. Okay, these questions, they're tabs. You open them up and you get content, a snippet of content. Underneath that content is URL, much like the feature snippet that I just showed you, except if you notice, these are dynamically loading questions. Click one question, more questions load. Click another question, more questions load. Another question, more questions load. Infinitely. Well, not infinitely, there is an end, but practically speaking, there is no end. And again, they are basically featured snippets featuring content and along with a URL. So it's a huge amount of pages that have this feature. It's a very, very powerful feature because it's targeting all sorts of different intents, and you just go from one question to the next, and you can kind of get lost in it. Now, video carousels, and they show up on about 15% or so of SERPs, and they show up for all sorts of things. 80s music videos, along with technical content. And the thing about videos is, they're videos. So these are the 3 that you should really watch out for. Now, I pointed out to you the percentage of result pages that these show up on. So let's think back for a second to feature snippets. About 6% of all page 1 SERPs. Who cares? 6%? Why are you telling me that something that only shows up on 6% of pages? Well, first off, our data set is normalized, so it's including queries that have nothing to do with feature snippets in it. And that's really the point, that the data here is for all sorts of kind of keywords. But we only care about your keywords right now. And your keywords, as you've already seen, generally, or tend to, not always of course, tend to show up with either all 3 of these features, the feature snippet, the related questions, and the video carousel, or at least 2 or 1 of them. Okay, some of the queries, of course, will produce none, but as you've seen already, there is a tendency for Google to show these kind of features for your kind of queries. So who cares how many pages across the whole web they show up for? How many pages or how often are they showing up for your kind of technical content queries? And the answer is very often. And part of that is not just because, okay, there's so many of them for your queries, but also because Google's taken a far more energetic approach to using these SERP features. Okay, Google has said, we're going to use these features that we're showing you, our SERP features, to target users. It used to be, okay, we'll show you, Google will show you these boxes, the user can or cannot make use of these, but now Google's going after the user. I don't mean it in a bad way. They're trying to say, okay, we're going to get all sorts of people who are looking for all sorts of things to interact with these different boxes, these SERP features. Let me show you how that works. So here's a SERP feature for bathtub cost. It's a feature snippet again. You have the content, the URL, but below it on this one, and this one, let me explain first. Our filters, okay? It's a filter. You can choose now to search for the cost to remodel a bathtub, to resurface a bathtub, or a jacuzzi. I like the jacuzzi idea. Anyway, this is a filter. It shows up on about 8 or 9% of all feature snippets have this filter. And what does it do? Well, let's say you didn't really mean bathtub cost to replace it. You really meant to remodel it, or to resurface it, to reglaze it, right? So now you don't have to do a whole new query and research again. Just click in that bubble, and what do you think you'll get? Another feature snippet. Now you might say, wow, bathtub, okay. So that costs, it tells you right here between $1,000 and $4,500. Okay, that's not so bad in my budget. I wonder how much it'd be to do a jacuzzi. Wow. So again, you just click on that filter button, and you can continue your search journey and to another feature snippet that shows up on a new results page. Or how about this one? This one is called a multifaceted feature snippet. It's basically 2 feature snippets underneath each other. So it could work 2 ways, or it could work more than 2 ways. It could work, okay, I just learned what I wanted to learn about in that first feature snippet about the associative and cumulative property of addition. Now I want to know some more. I'm going to learn about multiplication now. Not for me, but it's a common example. But anyway, or it could be, I didn't really mean addition, I really meant multiplication or whatever it is. So boom, second feature snippet. First off, notice, this is all above the fold, okay? Nothing else shows up above the fold here. It's just Google's content, although it does store you a URL here, and that's good and that's very powerful. Okay, but for the rest of the sites not showing up in these feature snippets, you don't exist for the user for all intents and purposes. Let me just highlight for you how powerful SERP features are and how energetic Google is in using them to satisfy users. Type in a sports team. The Yankees in this case, okay? They're an American baseball team if you're not from America or you don't like baseball. Tons and tons of boxes of SERP features. There is only one organic result, and I dare you to find it in here. It'll take you a moment. It'll take you a moment to even find it above the fold. You have your scores. You have all this information about the Yankees. You can look for other sports teams. There are the Mets and the Giants and the Knicks and the Red Sox, and there are videos, and there are GIFs inside the knowledge panels, and then you can expand the boxes and see the scores, and you can look at a top headline. Again, why is it relevant to rank on the SERP for the query Yankees if you're not part of what's inside of these SERP features? Very energetic, very, very powerful, very pertinent. Okay, so let me show you where this all goes wrong, because now it sounds great, right? I get myself into one of these feature snippets, I'll be in the video carousel, I'll be in the related question box, the user will expand one of those question tabs, and my content will be there, my URL will be there. Exactly not. Okay, what battery does the Canon T6 use? Notice I used a brand name and I used a model for whatever a Canon T6 is. I just randomly searched for this. Let me put this out. Above the feature snippet, you see I drew an arrow to the feature snippet there. Okay, above that is a PLA. Okay, it's a carousel, it's a shopping ad. Remember I said Google wants to compete with Amazon? Well, if you notice, there are 2 organic results, and they both come from Amazon. So what does Google do to circumvent the 30% of traffic that Amazon gets through Google? They put their own shopping carousel up there on top of everything that goes to one of their shopping partners, in this case, eBay. Okay, back to the feature snippet. So here's a feature snippet telling me all about this battery, whatever it is. It's a table, it's nice, it looks big, it looks inviting, it looks like it's easy to consume, and it has a URL. And that URL does not go to Canon. So here's a big brand, Canon. Here's a particular model of a particular thing, the T6 battery, and who's showing up in the feature snippet? Who's getting all those clicks? Because I bet you someone's clicking on that. You don't think you have enough information just in this table to find the answer to your question, and Canon is not getting those clicks. What'd you think, huh? Okay, reset settings Samsung 8. Here we go. Samsung 8, big old feature snippet, right? You have an image in there, you have all the settings, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, here's how you do it, and it goes to Verizon. So Samsung is losing out, and anyone looking for reset settings Samsung 8, Samsung is pretty much losing out because people are going to go to the Verizon result. And you can bet, by the way, and the people also ask when you open up that content, I would gather that most, or not most, I would gather that at least some of the results are not going to be Samsung if the featured snippet's not Samsung. Okay, but that can never happen to me. That's just random, one-off cases, whatever. Really? Okay, I use a program called Snagit to take screenshots, to take videos sometimes, to do all sorts of things with images. And if I put in, can you edit a video in Snagit, which is not really big Canon, HP, it's a big brand. It's not okay. First off, I get an ad, which makes no sense. Okay, if you're doing this, okay, if you see this, if you know about this, and you see an ad show up for a technical query, no one's looking to buy anything with, can you edit a video in Snagit? I mean, maybe they are, like, oh, I'll buy Snagit if I know I can edit it. Chances are it's a technical question, like, how do I do it, right? But okay, leave that aside. The featured snippet here does not, I made the URL big here, does not go to TechSmith, which owns Snagit. Another example. Which brings us to the question, okay, feature snippets then. So what can I do? How can I get myself into one if it's not automatic? Even if I put in the brand name to a big well-known brand, Samsung, and I don't show up in the feature snippet, so what do I need to do to get into one? And really is the thing you're not already doing. So what I'm going to say here is a couple of points. Okay, let me preface this. There are a couple of points here that I'm going to put in to emphasize what you probably are already doing as a technical content creator and showing you the value in doing it and doing it more. And there are some points I'm going to add in that show you, okay, I never really thought of that before. Bullets. Okay, when it comes to technical content, the whole idea is that Google wants to show the user something authoritative and clear, and that it's helpful, and the user will click on, and the user will interact with, and the user will be happy with, and they'll come back to Google again. For technical content, bullet lists are awesome, which is why you do them as a technical creator, right? We all use bulleted lists when we want to make something simpler, so go with bulleted lists. And if you have the opportunity to use a bullet list, and you say, yeah, I can leave it, I don't need to use it as a bullet list, go with a bulleted list, if not for your technical content creation and the user in that sense for Google. Same thing, by the way, with lists. Google loves lists. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again, same thing as a bulleted list. A numbered list really helps. So if you have the opportunity to further segment content, and I'll get into that in a second, and you make a list out of it, do it, okay? Oh, but it doesn't, the user, to them it's no real difference. The documentation, it's really a simple thing. I could just write the sentence and be done with it. No, go with the list. It'll get picked up, possibly. Tables. Google, again, loves tables. So if you have the opportunity to create a table, or even take a list and put it into a table, that might be, or even do both, create the list, also create a table to represent it. Perfect way to go, okay? Google loves tables. Now this is a new one for you, okay? Images. Now I know you all take images, right? If you're a technical content creator, or maybe you don't, okay? I'm not saying, I'm not a technical content creator, but often there are pictures. Use more of them. Let me show you what's going on here, okay? Here is Who Was Babe Ruth? Now you'll notice the URL for the website that Google sends you to learn more about who Babe Ruth was is from Wikipedia. But you'll notice there's an image in there. And the image has a different URL. If you look at the bottom of it, it says scholastic.com, because there's a book called Who Was Babe Ruth? And what Google's doing is pulling in the image. It's saying, okay, the content's going to come from Wikipedia, but the image we use, and they often do use an image in feature snippets, is going to come from scholastic.com. So if you don't get into the actual content, the snippet of written content, you have a chance of getting in there with an image. So if one of your competitors gets in there and they put in their content, they're in the feature snippet, but they don't do images, well, that's a great opportunity for you. And you can bet for technical content, people will click on that image. Here in this case, I'm not really going to click on Who Was Babe Ruth, the book cover for this book from scholastic.com, because what's the difference? I can see it, it's fine, but technical content, you can bet those images are going to get more clicks than something like this. Okay, so welcome to Feature Snippet Land. It's really important I'll emphasize it again, okay? Create more lists. Now, what you could do is, okay, more and more headers, okay? Subdivide your content into as many subdivisions as possible, and it's probably good for your technical content as well, though probably not always necessary, but from a Google perspective, do it, okay? Why not? More headings, more subheadings, because underneath every heading, every subheading, every subheading is another list or bullet or list or whatever, okay? Again, those images, you want to do that because it'll give you another opportunity to get into a featured snippet, even if you don't get in there for the actual content. But again, emphasizing what you're already doing, do it more, do it better, do it more segmented underneath more headings and those images, and that will definitely help you get those featured snippets. Okay, now, do I have any advice for you for related questions? Yeah, see featured snippets. They're featured snippets, right? A related question, when you open up those boxes, one opens, snippet of content, URL with it. Next question loads, or the next few questions load, you click on one of those, the box opens, featured snippet content, URL. Fantastic, okay? So just think about feature snippets. Now, there is something to what questions show up there in the related questions box, and how do I know what questions are showing up in that related questions box, and how do I target them? But I will get to that later. But in terms of the actual snippet of content in there, see feature snippets, because that's what they are. Now let's talk about video, because video is so important. Everything is about video. Social media is about video, right? On the results page, video everywhere. Here, there, and everywhere there is video. So your video, your documentation, your technical content, your studies, your research should have a video in there if you can. Now, let me put some teeth to this one as well. 98% of people have said that they have looked at a video to learn how to do something, right? In other words, if I have, how do I fix the vent on my dryer, right? People have looked at videos to answer that question. How do I install this? How do I fix that? 98% of people have said they have gone to a video at some point or other to answer those type of technical help sort of questions. So it's very, very important. Okay, the question I really have is, or you should really have, is not to do videos, obviously, because you should do videos. The question is, do I need to put it on YouTube or do I not need to put it on YouTube? And let me help you with this a little bit. Do the tube, okay? Because what shows up on YouTube and the videos that you may see on the results page, which I'll get to in a moment, are not exactly the same. So, okay, two things. One is, since they're not the same, okay, you give yourself a better chance of showing up. Well, first off, YouTube is owned by Google. So I'm not saying that Google does this, and they probably don't, but I would just do it anyway. But also, you're giving another chance to show up in a place where you might not have before. You might not show up in the video carousel, okay, on the results page. But if a user bypasses the results carousel altogether and comes to YouTube, well, at least you'll be there, right? Many times, a user, I personally have done this, I just go straight to YouTube. How do I change this setting? I just want to see it. I don't want to deal with it. I'm in a rush. If your videos are not on YouTube, you may be findable. You may have videos on the Google results page, but you won't have video in YouTube, and you're missing out on all those opportunities. So go with YouTube, clearly, in my opinion. And let me show you just an example of this, okay? So let's go back to Snagit. Okay, so here I typed in how to use arrows in Snagit, and if you'll notice, a video carousel shows up. The first and third carousels, the first cards in the carousel are from TechSmith, which owns Snagit. Okay, so in this case, they did a great job. They have two videos that show up there, and there's a high chance that I'll click on one of their videos. Very hard to get all three to your company. Not impossible, but very hard. By the way, the videos that we saw here are not both. One video is the same, one video is not the same. So again, what shows up here and what shows up here may not be the same. Just to put some numbers to that, I did a whole study correlating YouTube rank to video carousel rank. You don't need to know all the data, but I just want to show you that for your type of query, the how-to query, how to fix this, how to do that, the first carousel card, the first card you see here, usually ranks number 9 in YouTube. Okay, so if you expect, well, I'm number 1 here, I'm number 1 in YouTube, just want to let you know, that may not be the case. It may, often it is, often it's not. So just know that. So okay, the video content is really, really, really important, and that's really, really obvious. Thank you so much for helping me out, Morty. That was super informative. Thanks so much. I would never have known that video is really important in 2019, except I want you to be the red herring. This is not actually a herring. It's a salmon, nor is it red. What do I mean by this? Is that video carousels, those video carousels that show up on the results page, okay, they show up a lot of times with other SERP features. Like a feature snippet shows up on the page, 55% of the time where a feature snippet shows up, you will also have a video carousel. So 55% of all featured snippet result pages also have a video carousel. Meaning, okay, so okay, adjust image size in InDesign or InDesign. Okay, so for you technical creators, I did one for you here, okay? Now notice there's a feature snippet and there's a video carousel. Let's just say I don't get into the feature snippet, okay? But possibly I can get into 1, 2, maybe even 3 of those video carousel cards you see right under the feature snippet. Be the red herring, be the distraction, because video is really enticing. Especially for people who don't know what they're doing, which is why they're coming to learn more, and they don't have a lot of time. Videos are really, really helpful. So you could take away some of that feature snippet traffic by being in the video. And of course, it makes sense if you are in the feature snippet to make sure you're also in the video because of this problem. Now, by the way, InDesign is not in anything here, just to highlight my point from before. They are not in any of the video carousel cards. They are not in the feature snippet. They are nowhere to be found. Tisk tisk. Related questions. 58% of all the result pages that contain the dynamically loading feature snippet lookalike related questions people also ask boxes also contain a video carousel. And in this case, now here I'm showing you one for how to repair an Apple Watch. You have a feature snippet, you have the video carousel, in between you have the related questions people also ask. But imagine you didn't even have the feature snippet. Okay, which one am I going to click on? The related questions? I'll probably go with that video, right? So be the distraction. Entice users to forgo the content based and go video. Even if there's no feature snippet, even if there's no related questions box, there's no the dynamically loading people also ask questions, video carousel show on their own by themselves, right? So you have nothing to lose, everything to gain, even if you're not being the red herring, distracting users from going to your videos away from the feature snippet. You could just show up in a video carousel, and that's very, very worthwhile. By the way, again here, SERP, the brand that's part of this query, it's not in the videos, okay? Again, tisk, tisk. By the way, if there are, okay, this is my point from earlier, if there are featured snippets and you're not in it, okay, here's one for Toyota, okay? Toyota is the brand in here, Corolla is the make and the model of the product, Toyota Corolla. It's a car, in case you're living under a rock. Toyota does not show up here, okay? They're not in this feature snippet. In fact, I highlighted it for you. It is not them. It is 7trumpet.com. I had never heard of that before, but it's not Toyota. Some really, really smart local Toyota dealer created video content, and they occupied the first 2 video carousel cards. It is a perfect example of going after those videos. By the way, if you're the brand and you're doing this, it also adds to the authority. In other words, if I see a feature snippet coming from whatever site I never heard of before, and I see a video from the maker themselves, that gives me all the more reason to click on that video. By the way, even if you don't show up in the video carousel, they save the best for last. Okay, there's no video carousel on the page. So why create videos? I'm not going to show up for a video. There's none here. Well, there is a video here in the form of a featured snippet. Google often pulls videos, especially for your type of content, from YouTube, does not stick into a video carousel. Instead, you get this really large video box that shows up at the top of the page that you can click on. It takes you to YouTube. Actually, it just overlays the page at this point. You don't actually go to YouTube, so it's even better. Again, this is the top of the page. This is the above the fold section of the page. There's no organic result here, okay? So that video here is awesome. It's huge. Make sure it's your YouTube channel that shows up in it. Okay, so I'm going to get on my video soapbox now and say, yeah, it's obvious, but it's also not so obvious why you should use video content for your documentation, for your technical content, because it's a backup plan. It helps you deal with the cases where and you're not going to get every feature snippet, okay? It helps you deal with those cases where you don't get them, and it offers you another avenue to having people click on your content. So go with those YouTube channels for your company, for your documentation. We do them all the time, and they are awesome. So now, how do you actually target, how do you actually ensure that the keywords that people are looking for, okay, produces your content? How do you know what to target? How do you know what queries people are entering? How do I know what to go after? How do I know what people are searching for related to my content? That's a great question, because there's a lot of we can talk to you about this. Now, I just want to add more teeth to this, and then we can talk about this forever. Okay. 91% of people said, I would love to look at your documentation, to look at your help center, to look at your technical content. But I want it to deal with what I want it to deal with. I want it to cater to me. Okay, we live in a narcissistic world. You complain about all you want, but 91% of people said that. So complain all you want. Now you might say, well, it's my kitchen. This is my house. I'll put into my documentation whatever I want to put into my documentation. And as a fellow content creator, I feel your pain. Okay, I want to do what I want to do. This is how I see it. This is my vision. This is my content. I own this. Right? It's mine. Don't do that. Okay. Because again, 91% of people want to see what they want to see and not what you want them to see. Okay, so now how do we go about doing this? Okay, help. Okay, how do I have any idea what people actually want? How do I target these people? So there's something we call in SEO, it's called keyword research, and let me show you, okay? Let's go back to this query about resetting Samsung, the settings for my Samsung S8. And remember I showed you Verizon is the one who's in this related, in the feature snippet and not Samsung? Okay. So let's say I'm Samsung, and let's pretend we're Samsung, and let's try to get into this box, and let's see what happens. So we're going to use keyword research, and Rank Ranger offers a keyword research tool. But there are many other tools as well, and what keyword research basically is, it's a discovery. You're trying to see what are people searching for related to the topics that I'm writing about. Now there's two ways you can do this. You can go very, very specific. Like you can put in, settings, Samsung 8, user settings, and see what kind of queries, what kind of search terms people are using related to that. Or you can go back a step, and you can see, okay, let's forget the Samsung S8, let's forget reset, and let's just see what people are looking for related to Samsung settings, which is what I did here. Okay, there's a whole list of results. I pulled them out, I highlighted them in red. You could see the full screen. I'm blocking you. Sorry, you have to look at my face. There are results that are not related to phones. Okay, there's Samsung settings for the Samsung TV and all that kind of stuff. Okay, but the ones I pulled out here that you can sort of see are the ones related to the phone settings. Okay, now obviously you can't really see what I have here exactly so well. So let me show you what I pulled out here. Okay, there are questions. Okay, by the way, this is just questions. Okay, because I'm trying. Remember I mentioned before. How do you target the questions that Google's showing in the dynamically loading related questions box? So a good keyword research tool like Rank Rangers will let you look just for questions. Okay, and we actually pull those out of the related questions box. So these are questions that are actually in that box. Okay, so you have questions like, where are my settings? Like meaning on my phone, where are my settings? Or you have questions like, how do I get to Android settings? Okay, I'm not even talking about the settings themselves, but how do I get to these settings? Or where are the settings on my Samsung phone? Okay, so you see this theme, like I don't know exactly where my settings are. So you might be writing about fixing these settings, but users are really asking where are the settings? So I went through this whole list, and what I did was I abstracted out. Okay, I pulled out the different intents, the different user intents, the different things people are intending to find when they put in things related to Samsung settings. So one was, as we saw, the first one you didn't see in the list that I showed you, I pulled them out from ones that show below, is how to set up your phone. Okay, before you even get to anything with settings, people want to, how do I set up my phone? I can't get to the settings. I don't even know where they are. Forget that. I don't know how to set up my phone. So that was one question that came up a lot. Another question I just showed you that I sort of pulled out from the various questions were how to find the phone settings. So forget about how do you change them, what are my various options. I don't even know how to get to them. Okay? And 3, that's the one you're writing about in that feature snippet that I showed you before, is how do you actually go about changing those settings. Once you have your phone set up, once you've actually found the settings, how do I now change my settings? So what should you do? I mean, it's really quite simple. Oh, I'm going to go back a second. Okay, so let me show you what I would do if I were a content creator writing technical documentation. Okay, you may not be able to write a piece of technical content to address all 3 of these in one shot. Okay, if you're going to write about how to change those settings to your Samsung phone, it might just be too long to start with how to set up your phone. It might be irrelevant. So some users may not be looking for that altogether. No, you might be able to put in where to find your phone settings. Like first you tell the user, go here, go there, access your settings, great, and here's how you change them. So 2 and 3 here, I may be able to do the same piece. The first one, and then if I'm looking at a piece of documentation, I see all 3 of these, that might be like, little overwhelming, a little bit too unfocused, okay? So do you abandon this? No, because people are searching for the same query that brings up how to change those settings is also going to bring up something related to how to set up your phone. Okay, and the user, you're in the feature snippet, you got the feature snippet, and they click on that feature snippet, and they really intended to find how to set up the phone, and they see how to change those settings, they're going to bounce. Right? They're going to hit the back button. It's not what I wanted. Thank you very much. And by the way, Google knows that. Okay, Google, oh, that guy went, right? He or she just jumped back to the page, to the results page. Maybe we should not put your site in that featured snippet because people don't seem satisfied with it. So what would you do here? What I would do here is something like related to articles, okay? You ever see you go to a website, a news site, and you get these like really junky, like, you might be interested in seeing an article about this. The biggest crawfish ever caught in Missouri. No, I'm not, but I see the content anyway, okay? Or a good site has related articles. If you just read this, here's some other content you might be interested in, okay? What I would do is, on your documentation page, set up a big old image thumbnail that says, you might be interested in how to set up your phone. Click here. Boom. So I came to the feature snippet about how to set up those settings. I'm not interested in that. I first need to set up my phone. Your documentation is irrelevant to me, but you offered me, very noticeably, a place where I can learn how to set up my phone. I will go there and stay on your website as opposed to going back to the Google results page. Now, don't just put a link there, a text link. No one's going to notice it. Generally, documentation or technical content is filled with words, lots of words, so the user may not even notice it. If they do notice it, it's not enticing to click on. Use a nice big image thumbnail there, put the title of the documentation underneath it, and they can click on it, they'll notice it, and it's a great way to have the user go to your content as opposed to going back to Google. Now we'll go to this slide. Okay, let me bring this back into focus. Like a lot of points here. One, for technical content, whether it be a research study, which by the way applies to a lot of the stuff we're talking about here, or a help center, or a knowledge base, or whatever sort of technical documentation you are creating, SERP features are paramount, okay? Yes, you should rank. I'm not saying you should rank organically in those listings of regular sites, but as I've showed you, SERP features show up quite often, and you should take advantage of them because users tend to click on those and not on the actual links because, well, the SERP features are more noticeable, they're bigger, they're more visual, okay? When it comes to feature snippets, by the way, lists, bullet lists, numbered lists, create as many lists as possible, subdivide the content. And when you subdivide your documentation into more and more areas, one, you're helping your user, but also you're giving Google more questions they can answer with your content. So more and more lists, subdivisions of lists, go crazy with lists. Images also, make sure you have images in there because Google will put an image into the feature snippet often, and it may not be the same URL as the content itself, so that gives you an opportunity. And video for obvious reasons, and because it's a way to compensate when you don't get into the feature snippet or the related questions, and you have to create video. I love video, everyone loves video, and it's really not as hard as you may think that it is. And that is all for now. Thank you for listening, thank you for coming, and check into Rank Ranger's content, our blog, for more great SEO content, and check out our tool if you're interested in actually tracking and working with SEO. Thanks so much. Catch you later.